So here's a $1 million question. Where does your business currently live? I find it really interesting in talking with agents, right? We go out with a client or we speak with a client, we store some of the information in our brain. Then if you look around your desk, a lot of us have a notebook, post-it notes, and my favorite one is the note section on your phone. Who here, just raise your hand, has something on the note section of their phone, right? And then my favorite is there's stuff through random emails and text. And while this all makes us smile because we live in this insanity every day, the reality is every one of these things are either promises or something that somebody shared about a future or something that was important to them. Thus becomes the challenge. So how do we track all this information? How are we smart about it? And how do we use the data to make informed decisions and create the best experience possible? Well, the Compass CRM is the foundation of your business, right? Being in real estate, we all know that if you don't have a great foundation, no matter what you build, eventually it crumbles, right? So we want to start talking about is how is this really our foundation? And what are some basic things we could do to get started with several buckets of what I would say are the essentials in a CRM, right? So I know over the past few months, if you've been at Compass, you've heard a lot about the CRM. I want to give you a little bit of a different way to think about this, right? I'm always talking about how do we go from 0 to 1, right? How do we get started and implement habits that actually work? Well, number one, it's the mindset, right? So what's the mindset around using this every day? Number one, I want you to shift it through, okay, this is my CRM. This is where I keep everything. This is where all my money is. Think about all the people you serve. Think about how much you care about your word, how much the value of your reputation is, and how much you truly care about your clients. Your CRM is the foundation of keeping track of everything that's important to another human being. I'll say that again. Your CRM is the foundation of keeping track of something that's important to another person. Because whether it's today that you're solving for, you also want to live in the future, right? So when I'm out with Michael Ratner and he's showing me all these properties and I'm telling him about my 2 kids, my dog, and everything else, and that I like playing golf and I'm a fitness enthusiast and everything else. After Michael sells me a house and it's a year later and he's had all these other things happen in his life and his clients and he wants to have a meaningful conversation with me and he sees something, how's he ever going to know what's important? We can't remember all this stuff, right? Remember those 4 areas. Once that stuff goes, that's like very transactional, right? It's just dead. The second thing is daily actions, right? Here are the habits that you need to do. It's getting in the small habit of putting something in a different place than those 4 places, right? Because you have to remember there's a mobile app and there's a desktop. So generally speaking, you're in front of both, right? So you just want to make sure that when somebody says something that you're keeping track of it, right? How powerful is it to go back when you're speaking with a client and you say, last week you had mentioned this about the properties we're looking at. The week before you had mentioned that, and it kind of seemed like they're in 2 different places. How can we put this together and kind of unify your search to get you and your wife both what you want? Right. But again, if you're just living like day to day to day to day, and there's no strategy, there's no system, there's no habits behind this, this is where you start losing productivity, efficiency, right? We always say productivity, profitability, and clarity, right? Through having clarity, you can be productive and profitable, both in your business and in your life. And guys, this is a commitment, right? Just like you have a commitment to exercise, to eat healthy, to hit a certain goal in your business, it's making a commitment to care about enough about what another person says to store it all in one place, right? So just hit yes in the chat box if you can engage in this type of thinking, right? The mindset, the action, and the commitment of really caring about other people that we actually want to store this stuff in a meaningful place where we could go back to them. Okay, great. Do you guys just give me a couple nods? Do you guys like a different way of just thinking about this, right? Because I think understanding the why behind this is more important than the what and the how. Because I know you guys have heard a lot of what and hows, and after the what and hows, if it's still not working, it goes back to why. So how are you tracking your interactions? There are 2 places, right? The actual desktop CRM and the mobile CRM, right? So when we always recommend that you call 5 people that you know every single day. If you do the math, 5 calls a day at a 1% conversion rate over the course of a year will lead to 12 transactions. But when you're making these calls, have your CRM open, right? Every conversation, keep notes. Remember the Ford model. How's your family? How's work? You know, what have you guys been doing for fun? Do you have anything fun? Do you have anything big planned for the year? Recreation, dreams? People will give you information, right? But if you don't capture it, how are you going to know, right? Like if I just talked to Matt and Matt's telling me how he played golf and I just read an article on golf, that would be a really good time to go to Matt and reach out to him, right? But if I didn't know that he liked golf, I didn't track of it and I didn't write, oh, I'm going to keep a tag because I like golf too. If something comes up, I could just pull up everyone through tags. That's a simple way of doing it. Now, for the people that really like doing this stuff and being efficient, you're going to be out at times and you're going to want to contact clients, people. Use your mobile CRM, right? Like you can keep track of this stuff just as easy on your mobile app. So when you're sitting there and there's the clients running 30 minutes late, you can engage in meaningful activities and following up with your clients, checking in with your clients, reaching out to people you haven't spoke with, and you have all the notes are there and you can keep track of the information there. Simple, right? So this is how we want you to track interactions. Because in a perfect world for all of you, I'd like a month to go by and all of you guys should check back in and say, yeah, I have everything in my CRM and it's made me so efficient. It's made my conversations more meaningful, more purposeful. I've gotten more referrals. Because by the way, when you start seeing patterns and interests from people you talk to, you can start creating those unique tags and creating content based on that. Where to focus? Buyers, sellers, past clients, centers of influence, and tenants, right? So let's kind of talk through these things. And we're going to talk about 3 simple things you can do with each person. Buyers, 3 simple things to do. Using the app in the CRM. When I'm out and I'm Michael's client, right? Michael, you're going to be my realtor today. And I'm Michael's client. Where is he tracking all the notes for the house that the information I like? I like this house because it had an open floor plan. I hated this house because it had an open floor plan and the kitchen was dated. Well, I really want laundry on the first floor. Like that's really important to me. You know, I want a backyard that's fenced in, that has space between the properties because I don't want a crazy neighbor because I already live next to one, right? Like where does all this information go? We do a great job of listening and yesing and engaging, but we want to track it all, right? That's one. Use for a buyer. Make sure you have your CRM out. And look, if I was an agent, I would literally show my buyer the phone and say, look, everything you're writing down is important to me. So if you see my head down in my phone, I'm tracking all these notes and I'll send you a recap email. That's a bonus point, sending a recap based on what you have. Number 2, set a task for every promise. Realtors are notorious for wanting to give people things and then forgetting to do them. And then the person calls you the next day and you're like, oh my God, that was next on my list. Hold on a second. You drop everything you're doing and now you're doing something that's not part of your schedule or time block. And when you set a task and you give a promise, make sure you put a time to it, right? Because we want to get out of this whole common perception thing of, hey, I'll send this to you tomorrow. Tomorrow could be 9 a.m. for me because it's really important to me and it could mean close the business to you. And at the end, when someone's expecting something at 9 and you don't send it till 5, there's generally a frustrated call in between or they're disappointed in the end. So make sure that you set tasks for every promise. So look, when you're out with 3 different buyers in a day and you've promised 7 different things, right? About getting information, looking into comps, following up with other agents to find out different things, that it's set as a task. By setting a task, when you go back to your computer or home, you could hit the task and you could see everything you do. And again, track feedback, updates, changes in the search and the notes, right? You're going to want to document their journey, right? Because they're not keeping track of this. It's our job to keep track of this. And this is the difference between being a professional and somebody that could use it, someone that opens the door. Because now you have information, you're making different choices off of them, you're engaging them, they're actual deadlines, and there's actually a system that keeps track of all this. Imagine going to a hotel and going to the night clerk and asking about going parasailing and then waiting for that night clerk to call you back. You'd be really frustrated. And in a hotel, you spend $500 and you expect the world, but your guys are earning 20, 30, 40, $50,000. We want to step up our level of service. Sellers, 3 things to do. Set your task for your weekly check-in. Remember, you should be checking in with these people every week. Number 2, set tasks for every activity you do and complete. Have you ever noticed that most people don't know what you do when you sell their house? They have no idea, right? And like, here's an example. It's like you go through and you're calling for feedback. Called once, sent email, sent text message, no answer. Got an answer, here's the feedback, right? Photographer, contacted seller, contacted photographer, coordinating it. There's all these different activities that go into it. So you want to make sure what you're doing is actually tracked so you understand. It helps you with your processes, it helps you with your efficiency. Bonus for the check-in is set a time to make sure that you give them the insights report in advance, right? You want them to have an opportunity to review that. And look, track up feedback, update, and search and notes, right? When I say search, meaning what's going on in the collections, right? So for all of us, we should have collections set up for our sellers. And as we're updating them on the market, we should be updating our notes such as to reflect that. So if 123 Main Street is in direct competition with my client's house, and I put a note in there that same property, same neighborhood, same subdivision, updated kitchens and bath, 500 extra square feet, $50,000 cheaper. Like when I'm looking at that, I want to put all the notes I want to put in the collection. But remember, when you do your weekly check-in, if there's not notes to keep track of all this, it's in one of those 4 places. And you show up and you're not as confident as you should be. You don't have as much clarity as you should be. And therefore, to the client, the conversation is not as productive, as profitable as it could be. Tenants. How many people hit yes want to turn in all those tenants they did this year into buyers? We got a couple more. Perfect. So here's the thing. When we do a tenant or a rental transaction, it becomes very transactional to us. We don't keep detailed notes during the transaction. So we want to make sure that they're detailed notes, right? So you understand what's important to them, because a lot of these people become buyers. Look at some of the price points that people are renting in. Set up a task to follow up in 30 and 120 days. So when you follow up in 30 days, ask someone, how's their move? How do they like the building? Would it be helpful, whether it's today, tomorrow, the next day, to set up a search for similar places if they might want to buy a property, right? And offer to set up a collection at that point. 120 days in, people 4 months out, 60 days out will want to know where they're moving, right? They're going to start looking at other properties and everything else like that. So set a check-in 4 months into a lease. If it's a 6-month lease, if it is a 1-year lease, set a 6-month check-in, right? There's been a lot of short-term rentals for all my friends in Florida. So at the very least, you want to start checking in with them every 120 days. So over the course of the year, it's 3 times. And then add them to your holiday card list, right? We generally put all of our buyers, all of our sellers on our holiday card list, but oftentimes the tenants are the ones that get left out. Now, here's the concept I want to go through right now. And then I want to go through some live Q&A. What is the lifetime value of a customer? Have we ever really thought about that? Because some of you heard me talk about this before, but every other company is judging us as consumers of what's our lifetime value, how many times we're going to buy, how many times we're going to transact. But how do we know where to focus our relationships? How do we focus our time? Because if Paul sent me 5 referrals over the course of the year, in his buddies that all bought in his subdivision between $1 million and $2 million, and I sent Paul the same $25 bottle of wine as I sent everyone else, how do you think Paul feels? Paul's not stupid. He knows how much money he sent me. But how do we track all this information? This is where I really want you guys to get grounded between the mindset of collecting information to track what's important to another person, and now your business mindset of tracking the lifetime value of your customers. Look, at the end, we're going to play this new game. It's a game of tag. Every time somebody buys or sells a house with you in your CRM, you tag them. We're going to put 4 basic tags: 0 to 25, up to 25K, 25 to 50K, 50 to 75K, 75K to 100, and 100 plus. And now, what are these tags? If the commission you earned off of Paul was $25,000, he'd get the first tag. If it was $30,000, you get the first 2 tags. But I start keeping track of this. Now, every time Paul sends me one of his friends, whatever my commission was, I add another tag. It keeps growing. So I want to be able to know all right, let me look at the 100K tag in my CRM. These are all the clients I've made over $100,000 worth of commission on their lifetime value. Do you think you should focus on these people and have different types of relationships for them? Yes. Does anyone hit yes in the box and share if anyone tracks how much money they're making off of the referrals they have in one place and how they actually categorize those relationships and really use that information to create a better experience and deepen the relationship? Rachel, who are the two people that hit yes?
Corey, Grace, and Jody.
Got it. Jody, we'll start with you first. How are you using the information? How are you tracking it?
Hold on one second, trying to unmute my, can you hear me?
You're unmuted. Yep, we can hear you.
Okay.
You're live.
I think I I didn't put yes that I'm actually doing it. I put makes sense that it's something that definitely needs to be tracked.
Got it. Okay. Any of the other two? Corey, is this something you're actively doing?
No, I responded because it's so logical, it makes sense, but it's not something that I might have not thought of before you said it.
Got it. Okay. So do we have, and we have a third person. Is the third person doing this?
Heidi also said she's doing this, or Grace, Heidi or Grace.
Anyone who's actively doing this, we want to hear
It's
from
actually Marlena, the Grace, because my computer was off. So
you. Hey,
yes.
Marlena.
Hi, good morning. I've been doing that because I've been doing this for 28 years. And I have little trees. I didn't call them tags, but I call them sort of like customer trees of how each person referred and who they referred and so on.
So Marlena, how do you take that information? Say I'm somebody, I have a big tree. I've sent you a lot of clients. How does my relationship with you differ from a client that maybe was just transactional or maybe sent you one referral?
Well, it's different in a lot of ways. Number one, I talk to these people a lot more. I may send them theater tickets, do all sorts of things, do activities with them, send them things of interest. Those are, I'm thinking theater tickets, I'm thinking going out to restaurants with them, taking them out to dinner, etc. But I'm going to think about, you've got me thinking about it in a much broader way to do it with everyone.
So here's the $1 million thing about this. Thank you, Marlena. Here's the thing. In the end, all of us spend all these years working, building a business and everything else. And most of us, and my hope for everyone is that everyone one day wants to sell their business. But really, what are you selling? You're selling your database. But if you don't track like who the people are, what you do with them, how you engage with them, and how much business they send you, what is somebody buying, right? If I bought Marlena's business and she had all these trees and now she has all these notes and everything else and annual theater tickets and stuff, couldn't I jump in as Marlena made the introduction and the pass off and that transition? It'd be easy because I knew what was important to the people, right? If I sent them the theater ticket, she brought me out to the dinner initially, and these relationships started building. It's something that's logical. It's something that's transitional, and it's how a lot of other businesses do it. So, if you're spending time and someone says, well, how do I get started? I have hundreds of clients. Go back and take 5 clients and start doing this a day, right? That's the same 25 clients a week, 100 clients a month. You'll get through your stuff, right? Start keeping track of how many referrals people send you. It is a very logical thing to do, but it's not something we normally think about. And like the benefit of being in coaching and thinking through this stuff is our job to think of it for you and provide you a system that makes it simple, right? So now when you're having these conversations, you can see a different value for you as an agent in keeping track of all this stuff, right? Because the more information I have on you, think about all these data privacy laws and everything else. Like they're not collecting this data to do anything besides sell you an ad, right? And I'll give you an example. If you look in Facebook Messenger and you Google terms of service, if you really looked and read what they said, no, I don't think any human being would agree to it, right? And the people that would agree to it would be like, all right, fine, you're tracking my conversations, my voicemails, my text messages and everything. to sell me stuff that I'm thinking about, talking about, knowing about, right? So that's what they're using all this information for. So we want to use this information in the same way to make smarter decisions. So what are simple things? Interests, right? Once you're able to group people with common interests, one, you can create community within community. Two, when you see stuff, you could say I have 5 of my top 100 clients that all like golf, travel, cars, and maybe 2 other things, dining, right? And they're all in the same area. I can go out now and set Google alerts for these things every day, get them right to my inbox. And when I find stuff, I could send meaningful things to these people that show that I'm thinking about them. I read this article. I thought about you today, Jody. You know, I know you're really into finance and tracking all your numbers. Like, this is a really cool article on budgeting. Here you go, right? Matt, I know Matt likes to play golf. Matt, here are 3 great golf courses that they recommend that every person should travel to. Maybe we should plan a trip, or this is definitely something you should check out. But then people feel it's personalized. We are all, there's, I believe, 259 billion emails sent a day. We are all cannibalized by other people's agenda and mass email. Remember, these are intimate relationships that you formed with people, and nothing says less intimacy than a mass email, right? You would not go and give your spouse a card that you sent out to 100 other people. You'd probably be sleeping on the couch, right? Like, it's not a good idea. So I want you guys to start tracking the lifetime value of a customer. Now, how can I make business decisions with this information, right? We talked about hobbies. We talked about gifting, right? Now, what I encourage people to do in terms of gifting is, if you look around, especially social media is a great place, start to form partnerships with local businesses, right? Number one, a florist, right? I suggest everyone, if it's within your ad budget this year, go find a local florist and say, hey, you know that I have 100 clients I've sold houses to in Westchester County, right? This is for Angela. And I would say, if I gave you a CSV with all their dates, can we have some sort of negotiated rate where you'll send the flowers out on my behalf, here are my cards, attach the cards and send it. And Angela's getting a bill. She'll know where her bill is every month. And based on how many clients in the agreement in a year, she'll know exactly what she's getting billed for. The clients get it. And now this is automated, right? So happy home anniversaries. And the second one is, you should tag every client that's a mother and send Mother's Day flowers. Those are 2 meaningful interactions that you could have. The second thing is create your own note cards, right? If it's a Mother's Day card, create a special Mother's Day card. If it's a happy home anniversary card, create a happy home anniversary card. And you see, the thing is when you do things with consistency, people start expecting them. And I would highly suggest creating really cool cards with cool quotes and something meaningful, because that's something that people will look forward to in association with what you send, right? So I want you guys to focus on having better business relationships and deeper relationships with people with the information that you've collected. Because there's no point in collecting all this information if you're not going to do anything with it, right? So let's think about an example. If I bought a house, I'd like somebody to know the entire home process, learn about me, my family, and everything else, right? By the way, just a little asterisk, this is where you're trolling around on social media. It becomes more strategic, right? I can't go, I'll use Jody as an example. I can't say, hey, Jody, now that I bought a house, can you tell me your kid's birthday, your anniversary, and anything else that's important to you? You're going to think I'm a creep. Like, why do they want to know this? However, if you see on Facebook one year that it's Jody's wedding anniversary on August 27th, you could put a note in your CRM and that you could send an actual card next year. This is how you're collecting all this stuff. After the sale, you're going to want to put in your check-ins, your holiday cards. You're going to want to cultivate that relationship. You're going to want to track whenever they send you a client. You're going to want to set a task that once a month to call, reach out to these people and connect with them, right? So these are all things you could do, and each time keep notes. And then based on the notes, you can take further action. This is the essence of how artificial intelligence works. The more information it collects, the more informed information it makes. It's like the further you search on Amazon, the more customized your grid is. So that is what we wanted to share today. We have a few minutes left, so I want to make sure we can answer any questions that we have.
It looks like Jenny had a question about the note card, Chirag. She wanted to know if they're sent electronically or handwritten.
So what you can do if I was partnering with a local florist, right? What I would do is like create like a printed note card that has a nice card stock that had a quote on it. It's very hard to fill out that many note cards if you're doing it in partnership, right? If you're doing it individually, if you ever have the opportunity to send a handwritten note, I would do that, right? That's always like, 0 to 1, automate it, get it started. If you have those top 20 people or top 50 influencers or your 100K plus list, yeah, I would send them a handwritten note when possible.
Paul wants to know, should you be tracking by GCI or NCI, or can you just track by the number of referrals sent?
GCI. Well, let's not make this complicated, right? Those are too many things to just, I see 3 reasons on this not happening for you. So just track GCI.
Greg wants to know, what are some appropriate commercial corporate gifts?
Greg, I guarantee if most of your corporate commercial people, they probably all like nice scotch, right?
And what if they don't drink?
Great, food.
Perfect.
Everyone likes food. So like I can share this, like Haneen and Suzette both sent out these cookies from some place that Amit recommended in Arizona. Let me tell you, I was planning on dieting. I think I ate almost this whole box. Then Haneen had them make this wood box, which was really nice, then put her logo on it. We still have the wood box. It's sitting in our kitchen, and now we use it every day for something else. Tickets to something. Who else had a question here? Betsy sent out the most incredible cookies.
Josh wants to know, for the flowers, are we talking all clients every year on their home anniversary, meaning it can be several hundred or 1,000 every year?
If you sold 1,000 homes, I would find having your lender pay for some of it, or really, figure out which group of people you want to send to. In terms of cards, though, there are a lot of great, meaningful quotes that you can put on cards. Corey, this is for you in Long Island. This is a great way for us to re-engage all the people in your database. Just starting to send these things out and going back, and you can track the dates of the MLS. So if you haven't done this, either whether it's yourself, your assistant, your team member, this should be something that you guys want to start thinking through as the new year starts. What is the cookie company? I'll find out from Amit and we'll send it out to everybody. All right, everybody. Listen, it's Monday. I hope you guys are focused, dialed in. Remember, keep everything simple, and doing something is better than thinking about it. So I'll leave you with that thought, and do not complicate anything for yourselves. And listen, tomorrow we have a great interview with Angela Swift. Angela's going to share with us. She's one of the best people I found at cultivating referrals out of a relationship. She's even cultivated several referrals before the people even close. So she's going to share with you how she uses Compass, the platform, the tools, relationships within Compass to build this incredible business, where she's ranked, I believe, number 12 out of all the realtors in Greenwich, Connecticut. She's a ball of energy and something I know you guys will really enjoy. So we will see you all tomorrow. Natalia in Long Island too. This is another thing that you should do with all your clients to really start to re-engage your database. And by the way, on the Mother's Day, everyone will love you guys forever, because no real estate agent ever really does this. So I'll see you guys all on that note. Happy Monday, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.